Live long and prosper, YouTubers. How is everybody tonight? Welcome to the video. I know we're in the middle of this like long thing on editing, and I'm going to try to see if I can get another editing video out to you guys tomorrow. But something very important happened today, and I feel that I need to do a video on it. Happy Star Trek Day. I know this is going to probably sound stupid, and some of you good people are probably going to just be like, you know, stop watching it. But when I was a kid, I remember my mom reading me a comic book, and I remember just in general being like fascinated with like space toys and stuff like that. It was the late 60s, early 70s, and space toys were like it. But Star Trek is what sent me over the edge. Star Trek changed my life. And I think it changed it for the better. And I want to talk a little bit about Star Trek on Star Trek Day. So if you came here for some deep, profound thing, sorry. When I was a kid, I remember there was no cable and there was no VCRs. And I discovered that Channel 13 out of Lynchburg would show Star Trek reruns in the afternoon. One episode a day. And I got a cassette recorder and I put a cassette tape in it. And I would hold the microphone. I basically put the microphone right next to the speaker on the black and white TV. And I'd record the Star Trek episodes. I was fascinated by them. I fell in love with Star Trek. I fell in love with the whole idea behind it. So much so that as a kid, this company was called AMT. AMT, I think that's right. I'm sure one of you guys will know if I'm wrong. But AMT created these little model kits. They had one of the Enterprise, which you could run wires through, and it had like little lights that would be, you know, set up in the model, so the model would light up. They had one kit that was the bridge of the Enterprise that I loved. It was so cool. And there was a kit they did that was Mr. Spock on a planet. He had a communicator in one hand, like a phaser in the other. And there was like this weird, like living plant thing that was, it was like a little diorama model. And that was so cool. But my favorite one, and I bought, oh my God, I bought so many of these. I was like, Mom, I need another one. And it was a kit. It was a phaser, a tricorder, and a communicator, and you put them together, and they would work. Well, they like the communicator's lid would flip up, and the tricorder's a little top piece would flip up, and there'd be a screen and some little buttons and stuff. And the phaser didn't really do anything, but the phaser looked cool, and you could hold it. So, oh, and they had one that was. It was like a small, they did a large Klingon battlecruiser, and then it was like a small kit. There was like the Enterprise and a Romulan ship and the Klingon ship, the battlecruiser. And I just, oh my God. And, you know, they came out with some Star Trek merch at the time. Like, for example, they had a phaser that you could buy. It was so awful. It had a strobe light built into it, and it had a target. And what you were supposed to do is you'd fire the strobe light, it'd bounce off, and basically the target was like a Klingon ship with a big round red reflector like you'd have on your bicycle. And the light was supposed to bounce off the reflector, bounce back to the gun, and it had a sensor, and if you hit it, it would go woo, woo, woo. It was the stupidest, most inefficient toy ever. I loved it. It was kind of like the inflatable lightsabers they did for Star Wars when it first came out. Kenner put out a lightsaber, and it was basically like you blew up this inner tube thing and then hooked it into a base that had a flashlight. It was basically a flashlight with like a bayonet setting on it. And it was yellow why the hell would you have a yellow light? Well, obviously we have those now because of Ray and all of that. But back in the 70s, you had a blue lightsaber or a red lightsaber. Where did this yellow thing come from? And it was great. You'd be like, whoa, and then the inner tube would like lose air and it kind of whoop and like fall over. So yeah, they did like a Star Trek communication station. They had a tricorder. The tricorder was a cassette player, and some of this stuff we could not afford. But my mom was very kind and very patient because she realized how much I was in love with this show. And there were Star Trek comics, Gold Key Star Trek comics, which were horrible. One had a cutaway view of the Enterprise, and it was like 12 people were in the Enterprise. It was like, the crew of a Starbucks would command the ship, because the cutaway view was the people who wrote the comics had no fucking clue what was going on with the show. It was very evident that was the case. So anyways, at that time I was a kid, and it was, my mom made me a Captain Kirk tunic, and me and my friends would play after school. We would play Star Trek, and I got to be Captain Kirk. I had hair. Well, actually, I guess it's very accurate now because I have no hair, but at the time I had hair, and I had my little gold Captain Kirk tunic, and my best friend Steve was Spock, and my friend Scott was Scotty, and I remember one of our friends, David, was Mr. Sulu, and we would go and have adventures. We even had someone, I think it was David's sister, would be Uhura. So it was so cool when we go have adventures. We'd run around the backyard and the forest and everything else, and it would be alien planets, and it was fun. It was a lot of fun. And, I got older, and I really fell in love with the ideas behind Star Trek. Now, I got to be honest with you. Old, ground down ass me now, I realize how far away we are from so many of the ideas in Star Trek. And to be honest, I got to tell you, I think Babylon 5 is probably more like what it's going to be like than Star Trek. But hope springs eternal. I love the idea of Star Trek. I love the idea of us surviving our infancy and becoming more than we are right now. And I love the idea of delighting in the differences in each other and in whatever we run into out there. It's a beautiful idea. It's a beautiful vision. And, some parts of me are like, it's not going to happen. But that little kid who ran around in the backyard with his phaser and his little Captain Kirk shirt, he still believes in that. And I think it's beautiful. I think that it's amazing how far, how long Star Trek has endured, how many people it's influenced, how many people got into engineering and medicine and science because of watching Star Trek. And I think it's a really beautiful thing, and it's something that I actually wanted to spend a little time talking about. And I got really lucky when I was trying to make my break into writing. I was writing as a journalist, and I was doing pieces, and I was also writing short fiction and trying to get out there and do everything. And I stumbled across Simon & Schuster had this contest called Strange New Worlds, and it was for amateur writers. You couldn't have more than like 3 professional fiction sales to try to submit. So on my first try, I submitted a story called Orphans, and I thought I was not going to win. Not even going to be like, not even going to be a blip. I didn't hear from anybody. So I was literally, it was months after I had done the submission, months after they had closed the submissions. And I was putting away my folders and drafts and all that stuff. And I got a phone call from a woman named Elisa Kasem. Kaysen. And Elisa told me that I had won the grand prize for that year's edition of the anthology. And that's really what got me started on my writing career. And it was always my dream. I read all of the Alan Dean Foster Star Trek books, the original Star Trek books that were based, each of the stories was based off of one of the episodes. And then I read all the logs that were based off of the animated shows, which were really, some of those are really cool. And I think some of them are kind of sort of canon if you don't, with a wink. And that was really cool. I read as many of the Star Trek books as I could. I remember reading Spock Must Die. Was it Spock Messiah? That was, and the Phoenix books. Oh my God. The Phoenix books. I don't even know how to describe those, but they were out there. There were some excellent, Yesterday's Sun, I believe that was one of them. There were some really cool books, and when I won the contest, when I got published with this, I got to meet some wonderful people, and many of them I'm still in contact with today. They're friends of mine. I think the world of them, and they do a lot of Trek books, and I'm very, very proud and impressed and honored to be, their pals, to know them. And I feel very honored to get the chance to actually write in that universe. That's something that I'm going to take with me the rest of my life. And I wouldn't mind writing some more in it, to be honest with you. But, I think Star Trek really has guided my life in a lot of ways, even if I'm cynical enough to not think a lot of the things in Trek will ever happen, just because of the way human beings are. There's a little part of me that really learned something from Star Trek. And, I'm not going to dwell on this, and I certainly don't want to start an argument, but I feel like a lot of the more recent additions to Star Trek have not really held that sense of wonder and that sense of, I don't know, what do you call it, nobility? Something. There's something about Star Trek's from previous years and previous producers than the stuff we've gotten in the last few years that I don't, and that's my personal opinion. I know some people love the new shows, and that's their prerogative. They don't feel like Star Trek to me, and they don't feel that sense of hope and optimism. And, even though, we're not exactly in the most cheery of times right now, I think when we're in the times we're in right now is when we need that hope and that optimism that things will get better, that we will get better, and we'll move past all this. I think we need that. And I look for that in my Star Trek. More so than how many explosions or, planets blowing up or, whatever. If you look on the wall behind me, you can see all kinds of Trek toys. The kids gave me, I have a statue, and I'm actually kind of bummed out because it's somewhere in storage. I got to find it. But it's a statue the kids gave me for Christmas one year. And it's Captain Kirk. It's from Where No Man Has Gone Before. It's Kirk in like the kind of the original tunic, and he's got the phaser rifle, and I love it. I love that statue so much. And I know it's somewhere. I just got to find it. It's in storage. But I've got several different versions of the Enterprise. I got a phaser, I got a communicator. I got stuff from Enterprise. I have Captain Archer. I had a bridge. I think the bridge piece, like there's sections of the bridge, which each figure you bought, you got a section of the bridge, and they make like a whole diorama. Those are so cool. And I have Captain Archer, and somewhere is the bridge. It's probably with the Kirk statue. That's probably where it is. But getting back to this, so I wrote this story and it was published. I got to go to shore leave and sign books for the first time in my life, and it was very strange feeling. Very strange feeling. And what's funny is my editor at Tor, who I started working with, Greg Cox. Greg does Trek books to this day, and he is responsible for some of the really coolest of the old Trek books, like the Khan Noonien Singh series they did. Those were all Greg, and he's still writing. He has a new Trek book coming out pretty soon, and so I wrote a story for the following year. This was Stranger New Worlds #9. So I wrote one for Strange New Worlds 10. I got the idea for it while I was at shore leave, and I wrote it, and again, I didn't hear anything. And they announced the folks who were going to be in the 10th anthology. I wasn't in there, and part of me was kind of like, well, it was kind of a flash. I got lucky. And lightning doesn't strike twice. Well, then Dean Smith, the guy who was the editor, Dean Wesley Smith, he put up on his blog, basically, this was my final list for the book, and then it went to CBS, and CBS kind of made cuts, and then kind of came up with the final list. And my story was on his list, so he had selected me for Strange New Worlds 10. And that made me feel really good. The story I did for that second year was called Fear Itself, and it was like this DS9 original series mashup that I was very proud of. That was a good story. Maybe someday I will read that to you guys. I should do something with that, because that was a pretty cool story. It involved Odo and Kira primarily from DS9, and it also had connections back to The Wolf in the Fold, A Wolf in the Fold, which is the Richard Matheson original series episode where they run into Jack the Ripper. And I could write Star Trek books the rest of my life. I'd be very happy about it. So, Star Trek made me into a geek. And then Star Wars came along and just told the whole world that it was okay to be a geek. A friend of mine, he's in the military. He has a tattoo. It is the chevron, the insignia from Star Trek, with lightsabers on either side of it, and it's basically his attempt at the coexist bumper sticker that you see out there all the time. I can write a love letter to Star Wars too, but today is Star Trek Day, so today we're going to talk about Star Trek. Was it influential in your life? It was in mine. It really was. It got me thinking about things I had never thought about before as a little one. And it gave me this amazing sense of wonder and optimism. And I grew up as a kid in the middle of the Cold War. I mean, I remember very distinctly in my early teens thinking we would not be alive to see the days of Star Trek, that the bombs would start dropping and we would all just be gone. And Star Trek was a very optimistic version. 70s and the 80s, especially on TV, most science fiction was this post-apocalyptic stuff. It was like, Buck Rogers, or oh my God, what was the thing on Saturday morning? Arc 2, where the world had been blown to hell, and there was just a few people hanging on, and we'd fucked up and we'd wrecked everything. And Star Trek was the only one that was like, no, we didn't fuck up. We almost fucked up. We tried our hardest to fuck up, but we managed to avoid it. And it's a beautiful idea. You know, it's hard right now when I leave my little cave and go out into the world. So many people are frustrating and just bad, just all bad people out there. And sometimes it's hard to remember that there's good in everybody. And Star Trek helps remind me of that. That no matter how messed up things can be, we can work through it. And no matter how alien someone may seem to you, and we are all, there was a line from one of the original shows where Spock had been possessed by this alien, and the alien said something like, you're all so alone from each other. You're so separated from each other by your skin, by your body. And he was lamenting that, how sad that was, that we were so contained and we couldn't experience each other. And just it's a wonderful feeling to think that maybe we can overcome that we can not fear the alien, that we cannot react with fear and anger, that we can react with joy and acceptance. So that's my experience with Star Trek, and I've probably been babbling on a lot longer than I should about it. Today, but both my kids got exposed to Star Trek stuff. They had tricorders and phasers and all of that stuff. And when my son was born, when John, my first child, was born in the hospital, Star Trek was on. It was Arena with the Gorn. It was Arena. And I sat there with John and we watched Arena. He was like, I don't know, 12 hours old. But I got him started early. And we watched Enterprise together when he was older. And we enjoyed that. I really hope, that Star Trek continues for another 50 years. And I hope that it will retain that message of acceptance, of reason over anger and fear, that it'll continue to try to delight, that this is a beautiful universe, a beautiful world. It's full of things that should delight us, full of people that should delight us and not make us afraid or make us angry. So as of today, the last few months, I've been running a Star Trek Adventures role-playing game for some friends of mine on Sunday night. And we've been having a blast. I really love it a lot. And maybe if I get lucky, I'll get to do a Star Trek novel again. I've got ideas. I've got plenty of ideas for Star Trek novels. So I would love to do one if I ever get the chance. But if I don't, I have my short story that I'm very proud of, very happy with. And I just want to say thank you to all the people behind Star Trek. It's not just Gene Roddenberry. There's a lot of folks who, Gene Kuhn and several other people who were equally, DC Fontana. There wouldn't really be a Star Trek universe or continuity, I think, without DC Fontana. She was a fan, and they hired her basically to keep track of this stuff. She wrote some amazing episodes of the original series. And actually, I think she wrote some episodes for Next Generation, too. And she was involved in at least a couple of the Trek movies. So, amazing woman. And she was the one who kept track of everything and helped build the continuity and build the mythology. And I think that is all very precious and vital. I know a lot of folks poo-poo it now because the newer stuff doesn't seem to hold to the canon as much. And I'm not saying be like a canon, some kind of zealot, but there is in writing, I believe there's music and writing have a lot in common, and there's like a chord or a theme that runs through all of Star Trek, and I don't feel it as much with the new stuff. And I really hope I get to feel that, because I'd like there to be new Star Trek that I enjoy. And I'd like that Star Trek to pay at least some homage to what came before it. I think it's worth doing. So we'll see. Like I said, a lot of folks love it, and I gave it a try, and not so much. But there's so much backstory, so many years and decades, 50 years worth of material. So if you don't like part of it, you can move on to another part. It's part of the beauty of it. So Star Trek has meant a lot to me, and I had no intention of doing this video. And then I realized it was Star Trek Day, and I was like, I'm going to do it. There's an album that came out in the mid 70s called Inside Star Trek, which was basically like interviews and some little set pieces they did. Gene Roddenberry was involved in most of it. And near the end of it is a little monologue that he does where he talks about when he was a kid, and he was really sickly and he couldn't, do a lot. And he was awkward and kind of gawky. And he remembered reading a lot. He loved reading the like naval fiction and stuff like that. And one time he had a cardboard box, and he got in the cardboard box and he closed it up, and he imagined it was a ship, and it was an enclosed ship, and he was the captain, and he was brave, and he was strong, and he was determined, and a lot of the things that he didn't feel as a child. And he felt those in that little cardboard box. And he said that he really feels like that may be part of where Star Trek came from. That this dream of being in a world where no matter whether you're sick or strong or, healthy or not, wise or maybe foolish, that there is a world big enough for all of us, and that was just out there waiting for us. And that's a beautiful thought. So if you can find it, it's called Inside Star Trek. I had a copy of it. I had an album. I had the actual record album of it, which I think I played until it fell apart. Anyways, thanks for listening to me babble. Have a wonderful Star Trek day. If you have not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. If you can click on that little bell, it'll give you notifications when I put out videos like this. We'll get back to editing on the next video, which will hopefully be tomorrow. And, IDIC. That was a Vulcan concept that came up in the series. Infinite diversity in infinite combinations. And it was the idea that all of us are unique, all of us are special, and that uniqueness and that specialness adds to the value and the integrity of the universe. And that's a beautiful thought too. So have a great night. I will catch you on the next video. Thank you for indulging me, and I will talk to you guys soon. Live long and prosper. I'll try to do that thing. I'm not very good at it. Take care, guys. I'll talk to you on the next video.